What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Doors to Deals episode. I'm super excited today to have Cami, who is a great new friend of mine. We met not too long ago. We've been Facebook friends for a while. Cami is the president of KWYP, runs the community. She is the person who knows everybody in YP. She also owns some rentals, has some cool stories about that. So we're looking forward to chatting with her now.
Well,
How's it going, Cami?
what's YP mean for those of us that don't know?
Keller Williams Young Professionals is community at Keller Williams for associates and administration ages 18 to 40. And our mission is to develop the next generation of leaders in real estate.
And little plug here, KWIP is amazing. I love their events. I love anytime I go to family reunion or mega camp, I plan my family reunion and mega camp around the YP events because they're so fun and the people are so cool.
I can't believe I'm still in it. I was thinking I wasn't young enough anymore, but I'm still almost there at 38, just a couple more years. So Cami, why don't you tell yourself kind of like a little bit of background and a little bit of your story?
Sure. So I got into real estate when I was 22, 29 as of yesterday. It was my 29th birthday yesterday. I started in new construction sales. So I jumped out of college and wanted to make money. And I knew new construction at that time was doing really well. And there was opportunity to get in and, start on the right foot. Little did I know that new construction sales, especially in the north, slows down in the winter and there wasn't as much to go around. So I took a part-time position at a Keller Williams office at the front desk. So if you're familiar, it's called the Director of First Impressions. And that really introduced me to, leadership and the opportunity that I could have on others to help them accomplish their goals and get to where they want to go. And basically every year after that, so starting in 2016 on until 2020, I moved into a different leadership position at the market center. I've been agent services, compliance manager. I've been a team leader. And it just gave me a bigger and grander opportunity to impact more lives. And that's really what I'm set out to do in the world. And now that I get to lead alongside KWYP, I have an even greater opportunity to do that through young professionals and their world. So that's a little bit about my professional journey. And I know this podcast is more about investing. And I first got into investing in 2018 after I took Quantum Leap with Gary Keller, which is a phenomenal course. If you haven't heard of it, definitely recommend. And still kind of in that naive age where I just wanted to make money and retire when I was 35. That's the goal. It still is the goal. And through Gary's course, I learned, the fastest way to earn passive income was through investing. So after that course, made my first property a rental and bought the next. And that's sort of how that all began.
So that's amazing. Quantum Leap. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've never actually taken Quantum Leap. And I know the way Gary designed that is it sounds like Quantum Leap is this huge thing, but if you actually know what quantum means, it's very, very small. And the thing that he teaches a lot about Quantum Leap is about taking small baby steps to reach really big goals. Correct?
Absolutely correct. Yep.
And so what you did is you were able to get your first property and then your second. It's just that one big step. And we talk about that on here a lot is how many people get hung up buying their first property. What was some of the struggles you faced to buy your first, and how quick did you do that from the time you set out to say you were going to do it till you bought your first property?
So for me, I actually purchased my first property when I was 22. Had enough in savings for a nice down payment of 20% and lived in it, for 2 years before, taking QL and learning about the opportunity of investing. So my first primary residence turned into my first rental property. And because I was a W-2 employee through a Keller Williams franchise, that made it a little bit easier for me to qualify for the next. I know it's very different for 1099 individuals and independent contractors. Yet what I did was that house hack. I would purchase and live in the property for 6 months to a year, and then make it a rental before moving on to the next. So that was the process. And I was a single female. It was easy for me to pick up and move on to the next. I know that's not always the easiest process for everyone.
House hacking, though, is an amazing way to add to your rental portfolio, build net worth. I house hacked a ton through my 20s, so I love to hear that someone else had success with that.
Y'all are making me feel old, even though I'm not like crazy older than you guys. Yeah, that's the first house I did was house hacking, but it was before the term existed. There wasn't that term, by the way, is not as old as you might think. Maybe in the last 10 years, house hacking came out. So that's what I did too. It was like I bought a 2-family and moved out and kept it. And I had a tenant downstairs, and then I kept going. And
you still own that original 2-family, right, Jim?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's doubled in value over the last 10 years.
Probably one of the best investments you've ever made.
Yeah. It's not a bad one, that's for sure. So anyway,
love that.
Yeah, I feel like I interrupted the flow here. Sorry, Cami. So you were doing the house hacking because you were doing it to like move and live in it. Like, did you have any sort of like head trash or any sort of like nerves to overcome, or was it a little different because like you felt like, well, I'm just going to live in it for a little while anyway?
I wouldn't. I'm kind of a weird person. Like I choose not to be nervous. I choose not to fear the unknown. I always see it as excitement and opportunity. So I really just thought about the big picture, and a lot of the properties that I chose, I knew kind of like what you said, I was only going to live there for 6 months to a year. So I picked them according to what I thought the tenant would be and what the tenant would want in the property. So making sure some of those big ticket items were, up to date, inspected, but also like some of the aesthetic pieces that, are a little bit more interesting if you're a tenant versus a homeowner, where you can fix it over time. Was the things that I would look for. Like I'd open all the drawers and the cabinets to see how, the quality of that was, because I knew that also that would be well used with tenants over time. So
and you want to keep that maintenance down as low as possible for things breaking.
So what was the overall condition of these first 3 that you did? Were they in decent shape moving into it, or did you have to do a lot of updates?
They were in great condition. And another part to my portfolios, I love townhomes and condos. That is my niche when it comes to investment properties. And it doesn't always make sense or work for everyone, depending on the market and, your cash flow goals. But those were the easiest for me because the roof, the deck, the garage, the driveway, landscaping, that would all be taken care of by the association. And that was one less thing that I would have to worry about in the long haul.
Yeah, it's good for someone who has a busy career that wants to, it's more of a passive investment. Mm-hmm. I love this word you just said. We talk about niches all the time and how important they are. And you figured out that I need to be niched down, and this is what works for me. So that's really, really cool too. That's like music to my ears when I hear that, because Jim is really big about niches and staying in your lane. And just so many people, they try to cast a wide, super wide, huge net, and they don't pick up anything with it. But if you do one deal, one small step at a time in your niche, it can lead to really big results. And you're 29 and you have a rental portfolio, which is amazing. You should be super proud of yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. And one other thing I'll add to that, living in the property also gave me an insight into just the working condition of a lot of like the appliances and a water heater, water softener, that if something were to happen and the tenant wanted it fixed or it needed to be repaired, I have hands-on experience with how to fix that item, or no, it actually doesn't need to be replaced. We can get a maintenance person out there. So living in the property also has, in my opinion, additional benefits when you do choose to turn it into an investment property.
Cool. I love that. So KWYP, let's kind of change the direction here for a minute. So I'm really big about networks, communities, being a part of a group. We give that advice to everyone when they're starting out. You have to join a network. You have to find your people. Talk about KWYP. What are some cool things you've seen KWYP do for people, and how do you feel about communities?
Yeah, KWYP, it is a community, and it's also a family. And what I love about that, and what I'm really proud of, is you can share your goals, whether it be with one person, 5 people, 100, and they're going to support you and hold you accountable. And as far as support, I've personally witnessed and seen someone who wanted to get into investing. He's from San Diego. The market there is a little tough as far as what you can qualify for and what's available. However, we had a member in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that a new construction was being built, no rental restrictions. And she got him connected with that opportunity for him to begin his portfolio. So that's just one example of where, being a part of a community or a network allows you to learn about opportunities, whether it's investing or leadership, that you may not have had access to or known about in your local area.
That's cool. Yeah, I've always loved the when I'm in a lot of the referral groups. So there's you guys that are agents pass referrals of deals, and all of those groups, you'll see KWI people just shout each other out, blowing each other's names up. It's so cool to see like what happens, how many deals happen because of that in that world.
Mm-hmm.
Not just investment referrals, but agent business. And when I was down at Mega Camp just a week ago, there were some cool agents that were telling me awesome stories about their businesses. And that's another aspect that I really like, is getting to learn from other people too.
Yeah. And everyone's so generous with, not only their time or, finances, but also their resources. If you need a golden letter model or a door knocking model or a flyer that worked really well at open house, being a part of a community, and specifically KWYP, our members are always willing to share what's worked for them. It's certainly a mindset of abundance versus scarcity.
Yeah. And anytime you can find a community or network that has that abundance mindset and not a scarcity mindset, plug in as much as you guys can, because it's going to help you in your business, and rising tides bring up all ships.
Absolutely. I like that.
I love that. That's one of my favorite things. What do you got, Jim?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about this a lot, and the reason why we do is it's because it's so important. When I first started out in business, I did what the school system taught me. I thought I had to know how everything worked. And think about it. You grow up sitting in a classroom, learning from a teacher, and then trying to take the test and figure it out. And in the business world, what the most powerful thing is, and the first question to ask yourself, I think, is when you encounter a problem is, well, who's already solved this? Who do I need in my world to help me solve this problem? And when you encounter that, when you have the right network, everything it goes a lot smoother. So it's actually interesting. The first question I ask myself now is no longer how do I do something? It's who do I need?
Mm-hmm.
Who has the knowledge already? And in the business world, we call that collaboration, and the school system, we call that cheating, right? They don't teach you how to do that. But
I had never thought of it that way.
It's ingrained. It's ingrained. And so to put it simply, it's the who, not the how. Dan Sullivan wrote a book that's really good about this concept too, if you want more information on it. But that really held me back. When I was first starting out investing, I only did one deal my first 18 months, and I was nervous. I didn't want my male ego got in my way, and I didn't want people to think of me as a newbie and didn't know what he was doing. So I studied for 18 months when all I really had to do was just get the right people around me that I could trust that would give me good advice. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we can understate this enough, how important it is to get mentors, to get peers, get people who are trying to do the same thing at the same level you're at, get people that are a little bit further along the path, the journey of what you're trying to accomplish. Absolutely. So, Cami, I have a question for you. What are the numbers like when you're doing this house hacking? Like, are you cash flowing on these condos and townhouses, or how have the numbers been for you? Hey there, if you're looking to get the ultimate edge for your real estate investing company, go to doorstodeals.com/invest for more information. Just so you know, a high percentage of the people that we interview on this podcast are actually already Three Doors Network members. And our network members have a lot of extra resources. They have access to an online training vault with over 3 years worth of content in it. They have access to vendor savings like our Home Depot discount that's literally saved thousands of dollars for members. And we have a weekly group coaching call, and we have a lot of other great things as well as part of the Three Doors Network. So make sure that you check it out on doorstodeals.com/invest. What are the numbers like when you're doing this house hacking? Like, are you cash flowing on these condos and townhouses, or how have the numbers been for you?
Yeah, my goal per property to start, they have to cash flow a minimum of 200 per month. And fortunately, a couple of my properties, the cities and associations allow for short-term rentals. I don't do Airbnb. That's not, something I have experience with or am necessarily interested in, especially in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's not a destination for people necessarily. So, because I'm able to do short-term, 3 months, 6 months, my cash flow is much higher than 200 per month when I have those opportunities. Yet if I have one of my properties is a small, like 700 square foot condo, and that one, is right hovering at that 200 per month cash flow, and that's enough for me because over time that'll pay off the mortgage. And
so this is interesting. So I thought the same thing. What you just said, I thought the same thing about St. Louis. And what city do you live in? Like, or is it more like a smaller town, or what part of Minnesota?
I'm in a suburb called Rogers. It's about 20 minutes northwest of Minneapolis.
Okay. So Minneapolis, oh my gosh, why can't I spell it?
He's going to pull up the Airbnb DNA.
So Minneapolis travel industry. I'm just going to Google this really quick.
Yeah. I'm excited to learn something new.
So I might not be able to find it. It'd be more fun to, maybe it'd be smarter to just to do the what St. Louis was. So I thought the same thing about St. Louis. And because I grew up here, I was like, okay, who wants to come to St. Louis? Like, what are we talking about? Like, and so the Airbnbs won't work here. And I started researching it, and travel in St. Louis is $1 billion industry. And the reality of it is, whenever you have a city that has a lot of people there, Johnny that has a soccer game, his first soccer game, has an aunt and uncle, right? Or there's a baptism, or unfortunately a death in the family, you name it. If you have a lot of people in an area, like, we don't even think about it, we just take it for granted, but like, people will come and go and travel in and out of cities, even if, your Minneapolis or your St. Louis isn't like the beach town. Mm-hmm. So that being said, the number still may not be what you want to do. And you may not, from a lifestyle standpoint, you may not want to do it either, because it's more of a passive thing for you. Right. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what I would just do is to tourism. So it says it's a $12 billion industry, but this is Minnesota.gov. So I don't know what Minneapolis is, but there's $12 billion that flow into Minnesota. Hey,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I certainly believe that. And I totally agree with you that's a whole opportunity. And one thing I'm excited about, my sister recently got into real estate, and she has a similar passion to build a portfolio, and she's interested in Airbnb. And I think that would be great for me to partner with her on that. So that's a whole nother just opportunity with investing when you manifest it and share it with the universe. It's crazy how people will show up in your life, it may even be your family, that want to be on that journey with you.
Yeah, and then
That's cool.
Airbnb, that's a niche, that's a whole nother beast. Like we we fell into it on accident. So I had that limiting belief. I was like, oh, there's no way it's going to work. And we had a property that just was not selling. This was when the market was slower several years ago. Then we turned it into Airbnb and it ended up working out fantastic. Then I started researching it. We've moved out of Airbnb because for us, it doesn't work as well as with some other, like we do a lease purchase model and some other things. But it has to be so Cami, I love how you're bringing on a partner that really would want to do it if you do that. Because it's like to really make those highly profitable, it helps if you self-manage them.
Yeah, you have to.
Self-managing them is a lot of work. And
when it comes to running the numbers, if you go to airdna.com, that's going to be the best website to pull any data and analytics around Airbnbs and the demand. Back to the temporary tenants or short-term tenants, where do you find those? Is it like traveling nurses, or who are you putting in your rentals for a short-term rental?
We have a lot of new construction here. So especially with how the market was the last, 2 to 4 years, they wanted to sell their house to, then qualify for their new construction or help with that loan application and process. So they would rent from me for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, depending on how long it took to build their home. And since we do have some harsh winters, sometimes that gets delayed and extended. So the flexibility of a short-term or a month-to-month is very appealing to people.
And I'm guessing some of these were your clients that needed to sell their home.
Yes, a couple of them were, absolutely. So that worked out well, and it felt great that I could, give them a solution that would benefit.
Holy value.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Holy value that she's able to give to her clients, guys.
And it makes sense too, because you started out in new construction, right? So you probably have some builders that could send you over referrals on tenants and stuff too, right?
Yeah, and even just the agents in my office too, they would come. I mean, I wish I had more properties to, provide housing to the agents and their clients as well. So it's definitely a great way to give back and also make it a win-win.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, it's just less work. Like if you can make an equivalent amount per month, or maybe even a little less, but you're spending way less time having to deal with cleaning like a couple times a week on a house for an Airbnb. Wow, that makes a lot of sense. That's awesome.
I'm not a big fan of Airbnb because it's not passive. That's a job. Your job is managing your Airbnb. So my fiance wants to do Airbnb so bad. I'm like, I don't want to do that much work. They're too much work for me compared to everything else I got going on. But that's so cool to hear that you've kind of stacked that in with your business and other people in your world. I love that. Anything else you want to add? Anything else to talk about?
Yeah, I know I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning of our conversation. And we're kind of still talking about it with tenants. I recently had a horrible experience with a tenant, and it really opened my eyes to the concept of, quantity versus quality. And I had, I had the mindset of I need to get someone into this property immediately before, I'm taking on a month's mortgage without rental income. And I picked the first person that applied, and that was a horrible mistake. So if there's anything that I've learned, and I would love for people to take away, is do your due diligence when screening your tenants. They may make their applications look great, and anyone can put anything on those, and make sure that, you are reviewing the background checks, their credit scores, their rental references, because that's going to save you a lot of money in the long haul. And I did have to sell that property to help make up for 11 months of no rental income from a tenant during COVID. So learn from my mistake. And
what's interesting on this is like that is such an important thing to share with people. And like, how many people listening are going to be like thick-headed about this and then like not listen to this advice? And I mean, the whole landlord, the whole thing, like the most important piece is the screening of tenants and getting the right people in the properties. That's like the most important part. And I would love to say, hey, I've been perfect on this. Caleb would as well, but yeah, we've skipped steps, and I have the exact same story a couple times over, and I'm a little more dense than you, Cami. Hopefully, I am.
I probably did.
Yeah, I mean, I'd made the same mistake multiple times until finally it sunk in. Like, okay, we cannot skip the steps.
I probably did 20 evictions before I learned. And now I was in very low income starting out. In my defense, I was in like $400 rentals, but when I first started in this world, I had no idea about screening people. I was the worst person at that detail-oriented step. Once I brought a property manager in, I think I've done 1 or 2 evictions in the last 5 years.
Well, and if y'all are thinking like, oh well, I'm a good judge of character.
Yeah, I thought I was too.
Yeah, I'm a good judge of character. I'll just know. We have a nightmare of a story where Ryan, like that's my business partner, Cami, looked a tenant in the eye, said, hey, we'll give you a couple $1,000s to move out because we plan on flipping this one. And 2 years later, we finally got him out. And they shook hands, they looked each other in the eye. Everything was good, and come to find out that he knew how to play the system. He knew how to intentionally not get an attorney because then that delays things more in courts, and countersued us for certain things. I'm not really going to share with you because it's not worth rehashing this. But looked somebody in the eye and shook their hands, and had we just done a little due diligence, we would have found out there's no way we should have bought that property until he was kicked out.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it takes one tenant, or in Caleb's case, 20, to figure out what that process looks like and what you really need to look for during that screening process.
Yeah. To me, it's hire somebody to do it because I'm not good at it. I think everyone's a good person and everyone means the best. And I think everyone's telling me the truth. Yeah. Turns out they aren't.
Turns out you're a lot more dense than me. I don't think I've done that 20 times.
I also was like 23 years old and just hanging on by my seat. I was over here doing everything I was good at, and this part of managing the property that I was really not good at, but I survived. Luckily, my cash flow was insane on my 8-family because it was every month.
So Cami, let's get as we digress into how dense, who's the more dense person, Jim or Caleb? When you were just starting out, like if you could give yourself like one important piece of advice, like what would it be? Like what would be the most important thing you could have told yourself back in?
Yeah, I would say, especially for people who want to get into investing, you'd be surprised what you can qualify for. Or what you can turn into an opportunity that you might not know is there or available. And it just takes, and it kind of goes back to the community concept. It takes just one person, knowing one more person or being a part of one more community that could ultimately change your life and open you up to a whole, whether it be investing or leadership or different sorts of, wealth building. If I would have gotten into QL sooner or, taken that step of turning my primary residence into a rental property, that would have put me on a new trajectory and a faster trajectory that I didn't even know was possible. So to summarize, education, community, and, putting yourself out there can get you much further and faster than you could ever imagine.
Leaps and bounds. You can go leaps and bounds. Kind of wrapping up, where do you think you'll be in 5 years? What do you want to be? What do you want to, like, if you could look forward in 5 years, where's Cami going to be?
Well, since I just turned 29, I'll be getting ready for retirement. I mean, I'm so set on retiring air quotes, at 35. And what that means to me is being able to choose what I do every day, and having enough passive income that I get to do that. And, what I do with my time, it'll still probably be work. It'll probably be with KWYP, with KW Kids Can, with KW, yet it'll just be a different mindset, knowing that I have that security blanket and enough passive income coming in that if I want to take 2 weeks off, spend it with family or friends, or donate, $10,000, I can do that. So that's what retirement means to me. And I'm just really looking forward to that. And I'm excited to see what happens.
I love that.
There.
One more question. If you could give yourself, and we kind of asked this earlier, what is one other piece of advice you could give yourself starting out, that maybe would help save some other headaches you made?
I definitely would, if it makes sense, to hire that property manager. I went through 3 of them to find the one that I have today. And it's same sort of thing with tenant screening. Screen your property managers, make sure that they're going to follow through what they're, saying they're going to do and what's in their contract, and making sure it's a win-win relationship. So that's definitely leverage, whether that be a property manager or even just a resource like a background check website that can do credit scores, etc. That would have saved me a lot of headache the first couple of years of investing, for sure.
Awesome. Anything else from you, Jim?
No, I just think it's funny. Caleb's like the retirement at 35 and the passive income. Well, he's like, oh, I love that. It's like, that's like the mission of 3 Doors, like what we're trying to do for everybody we work with. So it's like, oh, I'm so glad he loves it. He needs to. That's what I was thinking about.
I love when people are like, I want to retire in my 30s. That excites me so much, because that was like my original goal. And yeah, it's what we're doing at 3 Doors. So it's cool. Well, thank you, Cami. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I enjoyed our time. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, they want to reach out to you, how can somebody get in touch with you?
Honestly, the best way, and don't laugh at me for sending people through YP, and the best way to get involved and be a part of my world is to be a part of KWYP, because that is my world and where I find myself most hours of the day. So if you want to learn more about Keller Williams Young Professionals, just kwyp.org. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and at the mega camp and family reunion events I'm always there as well.
Usually hanging around the YP booth. Well, Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to another episode. Cami, this was a lot of fun. Thanks a lot. See you guys.
Thank you guys.
That's a wrap, guys. For additional resources, go to doorstodeals.com. And don't forget, we're already generating over $186,000 per month in passive income for people in our world. And we're just getting started, and we can help you out as well. So if you want to grow your passive income, we have multiple options available. The first step is for us to get to know each other better. Give us a call or send us over a text message at 314-310-4886 to get started. And finally, go out, live your purpose, and above all else, go after your dreams. Till next time. Thanks for tuning into this show. For more episodes and resources that will unlock doors to deals, check out our website, doorstodeals.com.